Muy buenas noches, amigos. Perdón, sorry. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is a very great night because I will have the pleasure to have here in chat for all of you Allan Turvey. Allan Turvey was the developer of many mods, and the recently one was the Jetpac, Jetpac RX, that we will see in the Arnau Jets channel on Sunday. And after a few mails, we decided to make today this interview to show all their works and to meet a little bit better a very good person, a very good one developer, and one man that loved the ZX Spectrum. So thank you very much to everyone. So Allan, thank you very much for joining my channel. It's a very good pleasure. Good evening, man.
Hello. Hi. Hello. Hola, amigos.
Hola, amigos. Now for you, for everyone, you have to know that Allan, originally from UK, now is in Russia, in another place, and we have to start before 22 o'clock in order to make the difference with our local times. Okay. So Allan, before we start with the streaming, before we start with the people, let me give hola, buenas noches to everyone here, to all my fellows, to all my subscribers in the channel, okay?
No problem.
So, good evening to everyone. Pepito Melómano, Respergu, A37, Anari244, Artuquillas, Asimov, Caigarmonde, Darklau, El Mesías, tenemos también por ahí a Esticot, a Greenway Sevilla, Grego Guerrero, Hammer Albert, Highriser, por si alguien no lo sabe, es el propio Allan, Holovirus, Hatsu, Javi Albi, Jaoroto, José Único, Juan de 3050, Kabuto, Klyzard, ¿quién más tenemos por ahí? Maki, MSX, Maneley, Paleto, Spectrum 32, Suita y Cetaceum, ¿vale? Voy a ir todo el rato en inglés y Klyzard y Pepito se encargarán de traducir lo que vayamos hablando Allan y yo. So, Allan, when you was a child, what is your first approach to the computers or to the arcade games?
What, you mean like my very first computer that I had?
Yeah, and if you was
Sure.
a child
Well,
to go to the arcades or go to the pubs
sure.
to play some arcades especially, or what was your first
sure.
computer?
Well, I suppose in the very early 80s, maybe like 1980 or something, I had the like the Pong game, and I can remember the arcade games at the time. And then we used to play with, in school, we used to play with the calculators, you know? And then a friend of mine said, "Oh, I have a computer." And I said, what do you mean you've got a computer? He said, "Yeah, my dad got me a computer. It's called ZX81.
Oh.
You know?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Really? Can I see?" So I went to his house and we played some games on ZX81. I couldn't believe it. You know, I was like, "Oh my God, this is unreal."
awesome, no?
You know? So then I was asking my parents and to get me a computer, and I was going to get Spectrum, and then my friend who had the ZX81, he got Dragon 32.
Oh.
You know?
Very unusual one, the Dragon 32.
It was also popular in Spain, right? This Dragon 32. And my parents decided to buy it for me because it had a really big keyboard. It was like a big machine, you know, and they thought it would be better for me to do my homework, you know. So because we always used to say, "Oh, I want a computer and I can do my homework," and nobody did homework on their computer.
No one.
I never did any homework on my computer. Okay.
But that was the perfect excuse in order to ask for parents, give me one computer because I was make my own homeworks here, no?
Yes, exactly. But in the end, it worked out quite well for me because although the Dragon 32 was not a very popular computer compared to the Spectrum, and it didn't have many games, and I didn't know anyone else that had Dragon 32. So, you know, I'm sure everyone remembers, right? If you had your computer, you would buy 1 or 2 games, and you would always buy a game that was different to your friend, and then you would copy it for your friend, and all of that. Everybody used to do that. So we would share with each other. So you would always have a lot of games if you had a Spectrum. But if you didn't know anybody else with the same computer, which is like Dragon 32, then you could only buy a game, and I could only buy a game like once every month or something. So in the end, I started learning BASIC and how to make my own games, and that's really how I got started. But then after about a year or so, maybe I think it was probably 1983 when was it 1983 that Spectrum Plus came out?
Yeah, about 83, 84 maybe.
Yeah. So that's when I got a Spectrum, when it was very new. And I remember because I got that, and it was also I got Night Law. Night Law just came out. So my friends had
Allan, Night Law as a first game is very, very stunning, eh?
Well, it was a big difference compared with Dragon 32, that's for sure. But the reason is just that was then at the time I had another friend, and he had a Spectrum, and maybe my parents thought, well, the keyboard looks a bit better, maybe he'll do some homework, whatever. But anyway, that's really when I got started, and then for the next maybe 4 or 5 years I played on the Spectrum a lot, really. But I learned BASIC, but I didn't learn assembly. I didn't learn assembly until about maybe 2 years ago. So
after learning BASIC, did you make any production even in BASIC? I don't know.
Well,
tic-tac-toe or something.
Yes,
like that?
I did. I mean, I made a few little games, and I wrote an adventure game in using Quill, and a few things like this. But even then I was very interested in modding, and I wrote an editor for Manic Miner. But at the time, it was I was living in the Middle East, in Kuwait, so I wasn't really part of any big scene over there. I had a few friends that had a Spectrum, but those are they don't exist anymore, and none of them, the tapes have been long thrown away and no longer used. I didn't after I went to university, and in about 1990, I got an Amiga.
Oh, yes, you're the man.
And I didn't I didn't go back to the Spectrum at all for a long time. I had Amiga, I had Amiga 1200, and then eventually a PC. I think a lot of people went that way, right? Because
the Commodore Amiga was very, very popular here in Spain, eh?
Yeah.
But
and
I suppose, as everyone, you didn't make anything useful on the Amiga, just playing and watching demos, no?
Well, actually, no. It's funny you should say that, because again, if you talk about mods, I don't know if Championship Manager was popular in Spain. Was it a popular program? Like a football manager game. Yeah, very, very popular. We have our own edition from the Dynamic PC Football. It's very, very popular here in Spain. I see. Yeah. Well, I wrote an editor for Championship Manager in probably about 92, 93. I can't remember now, but we wrote that in Amos Professional. On Amiga. Yeah. It was using Amos. We used Amos Professional, myself and a friend, and you could edit all the teams, and you could edit all the players and move them, and it was quite popular. It was shared on. It's still even now. It's still on. It's still on the Amiga sort of archives, But
so I suppose
a funny story about that was that,
of course,
in about 1997, about 5 years later, I got a call from somebody in Norway, and I didn't know who they were, and they said, "Oh, yeah, we're calling. Are you the guy that wrote this editor for the Football Manager?" And I said, "Yes."
So funny.
I said, "Oh, yeah, we use it in Norway, and we really want you could you like, because we did it with a key, you know, there was like a free version and there was a key that unlocked all the different features, and they said, could you just release it without the key, so it's free for everybody now, because Amiga's kind of fading away, and I said, yeah, of course, no problem. So that was the last release, but it was so strange, you know, to get a call from someone.
Yeah.
In those days, there was no social media, right? So
yeah,
they really had to try and find me and find my phone number. I don't know how, but they did. So
that's very scary, with no social media, no social networks. Someone trying to find you in order to talk about the
manager code. You know, we used to just have a big book, you know, with your phone, with the name and the phone number. You just found the person, that's it. So that was that really. And then after, well, I mean, with the PC, I can't say I did much developing with the PC.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I played about with a few things like Game Maker or Blitz Basic, things like this. But no, by then I was working in the music industry and I was very busy, so I didn't really do much coding.
That's very funny, because after we start the streaming, Allan told me about what he used to do on his free time. I asked him about if like to still playing retro games, and he told me that when he start to playing retro games, he start to play in a game maybe 10-15 minutes, but then you have to curiously, in order to what's this? I have to check the code, no, Allan?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, whenever I start playing a game, I'm always interested to know what
was happening before, no? Before the screen.
Because this is the nice thing about, you know, these old machines, that it's just completely open, you know. So, like, if you're playing a game on your Xbox or something, you just have to accept it, right? You know, or if there's a bug or something that you don't like or whatever. But if you play a game on the Spectrum, you can really just go in and change it if you don't like something. I remember just recently
you can check the code and learn something in order to make your own products.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, a very simple example of that is that I was playing a lot of the different Ultimate games, right? Because when we see Jetpac later, there's a lot of collectibles in the game that I put from all the different Ultimate games. So I was playing the games looking for the graphics that I might take to put into Jetpac, you know, as little references for people to notice. In fact, you know, later on when you play it, it might be fun for people to in the comments when a power up drops, you could see that whoever recognizes the power up from which game straight away, they could, you know, like a little competition. Maybe it might be fun.
Yeah.
But I was playing Underworld, and Underworld is, frankly, it's probably the most disappointing game by Ultimate that I ever played, because after Night Lore and Saber Wolf and Attic Attack and Jetpac, which is all for me, you know, great fun at the time. And then I played Underworld, and we tried so many times, right? So I lived in the Middle East, and we didn't have you couldn't buy the games, so you could only get copies. And my friend had a copy, but it wouldn't load. And we spent maybe the whole evening trying to make it load. And sometimes it would load, the screen would come up, and other times and it would just crash. And we tried so many things, changing the tracking on the tape, and eventually it loaded, and we played it, and then it was just like so frustrating, because the character just bounces around everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. It's really hard to play. It's really hard. It just the game mechanic is, looking at it now from a developer point of view, it's not a great game. The game mechanic really ruins it, you know. In my opinion, of course, some people still like it, and that's fair enough for them.
But the
but I had to play it again, just recently looking for a suitable graphic to use, and I very quickly started looking at the code and changing it so that I could get past the bosses and stuff to go deeper into the game and just explore. So that's what I did. But I did get. I took one of the graphics from the game and used it in Jetpac because it's still part of the history,
Mm-hmm. Allan, you say that when many people do like you, when you receive your Commodore Amiga, forget about the Spectrum. But when did you recover the Spectrum, the retro scene? What is the motivations that bring you back to the Spectrum and to make your own games in 21st century?
Yeah, well, basically, I suppose it's a couple of years. It must be a couple of years, 2.5 years ago, and I was just I became a more regular sort of user of YouTube, watching YouTube videos, and so then I started to become aware of a kind of community that was still around of the Spectrum, people that were still fans, and I started watching the Spectrum show, Paul Jenkinson's show.
Paul Jenkinson, yes, we all know. Very good YouTube channel.
I started watching his shows, and by then there was already about 40 or 50 shows. So I started watching them and putting them on in the background when I was doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
And by this time I already learned to code in other languages. So like I knew PHP and a little bit of, not so much C++, but JavaScript a little bit, and a few other things. Again, not professionally though, but I was able to do it because I run my own business.
Yeah.
So I was able to develop my own scripts for my website and different things like this. So I've still been enjoying coding throughout the time that I've had the PC, but not games really, not so much.
Yeah.
And then on one of the shows there was he spoke about AGD. As you know, he writes a lot of code, a lot of games in AGD. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, you could actually make quite an easy game from this. It might be fun to just try, And so I got a copy of AGD and I started playing about with it, and that's how I started to get back into the sort of Spectrum, really.
I have a question of my friend Recuerda on the chat, even with a donation. So we make to you many thanks for that great interview at the moment. But he want to ask you your opinion about the Amstrad CPC. We will talking all the time about the Spectrum, and we will see Spectrum games.
Sure.
But what do you think about the Amstrad CPC or other 8-bit machines, Allan?
Well, I certainly don't have any kind of snobbery about it. My friend had a Commodore 64 when I had a Spectrum, and I used to be very envious of some of the games on there, like Iridium and a few others. But I didn't know anybody that had an Amstrad at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't know much about the Amstrad at the time. And like some people, I thought that it was actually very similar to the Spectrum, because I saw that some of the games were just kind of copied over from the Spectrum because it's a Z80. But nowadays, my opinion of the Amstrad is quite different now. I think it's actually a very underrated machine. I think it's actually, because I don't know if you know, but in England, Amstrad is known from Alan Sugar, and he's a kind of businessman, and
of course.
He has a reputation. He has a reputation, especially because he also bought the Spectrum,
Yeah.
So he had maybe it's just amongst Spectrum fans, but amongst other people, he has a bit of a reputation of not being a real computer guy, right? So like Clive Sinclair's like a real computer guy, you know.
Yeah.
Like you can sit and talk about computers with him, but if you want to talk to Alan Sugar about computers, all he would be interested in is how much, right? So
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think the Amstrad had a reputation for people that didn't use the machine as being kind of, well, it's not very good, it's just going to be really cheap and so on. But no, I've seen some of the more recent demos and things that have been made, and it's just incredible, really, what it's really capable of.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really used to its full potential. And I sometimes think about switching over to doing some code with the Amstrad. But I think this will make you laugh, because if I really wanted to do something, because I could now because I know Z80. If I was to switch over to Amstrad, then I would probably try to code a game on that terrible console, which is, I can't remember what it's called. Is it the the Amstrad console? Maybe someone in the comments.
The GX 440.
Yeah, I'd like to write a game for the GX 4000.
GX 4000.
I would like to write a game for the GX 4000 because I have one, and it's like a really bad B movie, like a movie that's so bad that it's good. It's so cheap, the controllers are absolutely terrible and everything about it. But you know what? Hidden under there is actually like an Amstrad Plus, and it's actually really quite good. As an 8-bit machine, it's probably as good as anything. Certainly as good as the Master System, and maybe even a little bit better than that. I don't know, but fun. I know somebody made Sonic for it, right?
Yeah.
They did Sonic for the GX 4000. Actually, really good. So, and I know that I think Pinball Dreams was made for the Amstrad recently, wasn't it? Last year. And that was amazing. So I think if that, and I guess that could run on the GX 4000. Probably would be really great. So, yeah, I like underdogs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
So
I do have an Amstrad in my collection, yes, by the way, at home in England as well, but I've hardly used it.
After a long time of period, 2.5 years ago, according to your own words, you take back the Spectrum, and we are watching, and maybe I'm playing not so bad, not so good, your Invaders. That is your first mod as a game, Alan?
I think this is the first game that I wrote, or at least completed, on AGD, because it's an interesting approach, I suppose. But normally, what I tend to do is I look at the sort of tools and what they can do, and then I try to think about what it can't do, and then I think, oh, how could I make it do something that it shouldn't be able to do? That's for me like the challenge of working with something like AGD or whatever. Even with the Spectrum, you sort of think, oh, how could I do something that people wouldn't imagine that it would be on AGD? So normally AGD has big sprites, and as you can see from the game here, it doesn't look like a typical AGD game. But the way that it's run, it's very, very inefficient. I actually have a Space Invaders game that I could send you that I'm still working on now, but which is much more like the arcades. But this one is
okay.
It basically uses.
What do you think about the AGD utility to make your ARMS Spectrum games, Alan? Do you think it's powerful, is friendly to use, or you have to have maybe a little notions about the assembly or something like that? Or AGD is free for all?
Well, I can tell you only from my own personal experience. I mean, none of the games that I've written, the ones that I've written now that don't use AGD, things like, the mods and everything else, none of it would have happened if I hadn't started with AGD in the first place, because it was a kind of gateway for me, to start back into coding.
Yeah.
And and it opened up the thing with AGD, and I still use it even now. Maybe not so much for writing full games, but I use it for testing out concepts, because like sort of game mechanics and things, because you can very, very quickly get some sprites moving with a character and play, and then you say, oh, you know what, yeah, this might work, this feels good. So it's really good as a sort of test environment in that way. And then often you come up against the limitations of something like that, which is a game maker. It's designed for certain types of games, and it has its limitations. And so for those reasons, a lot of the games that people make, they look quite similar, they sound quite similar, some people say, oh, it's the same game just with different graphics.
Yeah.
And that's understandable, but I would say, for anybody to get, I want to encourage anybody to move from sort of playing games to making games, to being active. I mean, as a teacher myself, this is the thing that you try to get across to students, is that playing games is still it's relatively passive experience. You're enjoying the game. It can be fun, but if you learn to actually code, you can be much more creative, and that's something I would really encourage, because that's what keeps the scene alive. There's only so long that people can play Jetpac and Manic Miner and so on. I mean, they're great games, but the scene, the homebrew scene of the Spectrum now is, even over the last 2 years, it's grown hugely, and tools like like AGD, and there's also is it Mojang Twins? I think they're Spanish as well, right? I'm not sure, but they also have a great engine for people to work with, and it just opens up a lot of possibilities.
According to the testing process, Allan, you test your own games, or you give it to your friends or people like me in order to, hey mate, I have a new game, can you check it out or test it for me, or you test your own games in order to find bugs?
It's so important to get feedback from people while you're developing. I couldn't imagine not doing that, because people see things so differently, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like writing anything, whether it's a song or writing a game or whatever. If you're even if you're cooking, it's like you're cooking. You're not making a meal for yourself.
Yeah.
So, like when I'm cooking dinner, I'll think about, say, I like to cook, and I often cook for my wife, and so. And of course I'm going to be thinking, what does she like? And I'll say, oh, try this. Do you like this? And so on, right? And if she doesn't like it, then I'll change it. So, writing games, you're really writing games for other people to play. I mean, first and foremost, you write a game for yourself.
Yeah.
The things that you like, the things that you want to see, that you enjoy. And that's really, really important, because at the end of the day, even if nobody else likes it, you've still got a game that you like, So, and that's everything else can be a bonus, But over the last couple of years, I have a few people like David Safar, as I mentioned, and Andy Johns, who've also written games, and a few other people. Quite often, I mean, people like yourself, and it's Andre. Andre is a Portuguese guy who does the reviews.
From the Planet Sinclair, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Andre's,
So I sent.
Andre is a friend. Andre is a friend
of
of the channel, and also from the.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sure most Spectrum users will know him. And again, there are people that you trust, and so you know that they like certain things, they don't like certain things, and they, that they think about it from a point of view of other players. So yeah, what I can say is that I can't say that the work I do and the games I do are like the best or the most brilliant kind of work. It's always a matter of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But what I can say is that I test them a lot. I really test them a lot, and I get a lot of feedback, and I listen, and I'm very careful, and I make changes, and I make adjustments, and I spend a lot of time just doing that and just playing the game and just making sure that it works, and getting feedback from people who then say, oh, yeah, this doesn't work, this is too fast, or oh, I got stuck here, and if you don't do that, everybody's different, everyone has different personalities and different things, and it's like I said on another comment. I mean, fortunately, most of the time when I do these mods, usually I don't get too much negative feedback. Sometimes people say things like, "Oh, it's not necessary. You didn't need to do it," but that's okay. I wasn't necessarily. I wasn't really doing it for them anyway.
So now we are watching your mod to the Bruce Lee, and I told you before the beginning.
You're using the yellow jumpsuit edition. It's like a special version with the yellow Bruce Lee from Game of Death.
Yeah.
The attribute clash is horrendous. Look at it there.
We are talking at the beginning out of the live event that, from my opinion, Allan, you took two of the best memory games of everyone on the ZX spectrum, like Bruce Lee and Jetpac. And you told me about you play Bruce Lee even a long time after the ZX spectrum age. So do you have clear that the Bruce Lee, the original one, needs a mod in order to be more colorful? Because if everyone here has played your game for sure, but the playability, the gameplay is the same as the original, and that's very important, no? To keep the original playability, no, Allan?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. With something like this, I mean, this mod that you're looking at here mostly it's just a skin, right? Actually, by the way, on this screen here, do you see just to the left there? Can you see that glove with the spikes?
Mm-hmm.
There's a little glove with spikes just in the bottom left side. That's like the hand from Bruce Lee film Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
It's like a little Easter egg that I put in. But basically, this is not. I haven't disassembled the game here to any great extent. I just worked out how the levels were stored, and it's like a skin. It's more of a skin than anything else. It changes the graphics, but and the reason, well, ultimately, the reason I do these things more than anything else is just because it's interesting and it's fun, and you can kind of learn about how the games are written, and you can improve your own gaming ability to do that. And of course, it's fun for other people as well. But in this particular case, this game is converted from the Commodore 64 version, and the Commodore 64 version just looks a lot better. It looks like Bruce Lee, and it feels better. So I thought, well, maybe I could change the sprite of Bruce Lee and make it look like a sort of maybe something like Jonathan Smith, or a kind of Imagine game, or an Ocean game, or this kind of style. Instead of looking like a Commodore 64 game. So well, maybe I could do that, and then I started digging and realized that it was possible to change the colors and so on. But yeah, it's a fun game. I mean, it's a very casual game, right? I mean, I can tell you, everyone on here, as you said, everyone's played it, and I guarantee everybody's completed it as well. I think it's the one Spectrum game that everybody has completed. Right? No,
Alan, what is the principal difference between create your own game, even with the AGD or something like that, and get the original Bruce Lee and change the sprites, change the colors, improve a little bit the look style?
Well, it's a completely different. I mean, with the Jetpac game, I suppose that's more because I've done quite a lot of coding. But in this particular case, all you're really doing is you're just changing the graphics. You're not, so you don't have to think about collision detection or enemy AI or anything like that. You're purely just it's like taking a black and white movie and adding color to it. You know how some people do that with movies? When people take a black and white movie and they restore it to color.
Yeah. So colorized
it's the kind of it's really the kind of computer equivalent of doing that. It doesn't require a lot of coding skill, although of course you need a certain amount in order to understand how the game actually works. So how to do that. I do have another version of this that I started on with some sort of harder levels and more difficult areas. So, but I haven't released it yet. I may get around to it at some point. This is my second game that I wrote. Actually, it's a funny story because Roust, which is the third game that I released, I was working on that quite extensively, but I hadn't announced it. When I came across this arcade game called Turtles, and I thought it looked like fun, and it looked like something that could be done in AGD. So that's the reason I started working on it. And then again, with me, it's always this kind of snowball effect. You start with a little thing, you share it with a few people, and then they say, "Oh yeah, you should do that," and you get a lot of encouragement, and then you eventually you get to the point where you create the full game. So that's this one. It's an arcade game. I can't remember. It's not by Sega. They might have done a version, but.
Alan, I have the first questions from my followers or from my subscribers.
Please.
And we have one question, 2 or 3 questions, very interesting, but we have here...
Sure. I'm here all night. I can answer as many questions as
thank you very much.
No problem.
Sorry, I just checking. Let me check the first one. Asimov is asking you about if you prefer to play the classic or homebrew actually in the ZX Spectrum.
Oh, I see. Well, to be honest, I as I said, normally I don't play a lot of Spectrum games because you can imagine if you sit on the machine and you're writing games a lot, if you're coding. Then you don't really play that many, because my interest with the Spectrum is mainly in terms of writing games.
Yeah,
I'm not hugely nostalgic. I know some people love to play and be nostalgic. I'm not especially nostalgic. I mean, I'd say that I'm interested in it from a historical point of view. I'm interested in the story of computer games in general and how they developed over time. But in terms of playing games, I'm kind of an omnivore. I'll play almost anything. I mean, a few years ago, before I came here, I had a big collection of maybe more than 100 consoles and computers, and everything sort of. I'm a big fan of Sega. I had a lot of Sega Master System, Mega Drive, Dreamcast, Saturn. Loved the Sega Saturn, and in terms of playing the games, and to be honest with you, if you want to play like a shoot 'em up or a beat 'em up or well, a platform game.
FPS,
to be honest,
like that, no?
let's be honest. You know what? They're all better if you play them on a Mega Drive or the Saturn.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that's gonna annoy anyone in the comments, but those games are just much more fun. They're much faster. They're much more. I mean, don't get me wrong, because I love the Spectrum, and I love coding on it, and it's a great machine because it's so open and everything. But if you really want to play, a shoot 'em up or a beat 'em up, you want to play it on a Mega Drive or something. Unless you're nostalgic,
Yeah.
If you
Another
wanna
interesting
go back and
question
play,
is
remember
about
when you were a kid and stuff.
Another interesting question about Spectrum 32 is about what are you planning to implement in the future versions of AGD? Do you want to start speaking about your own AGD program?
Oh, sure. Well,
so
sure. I mean, look, the thing is, it's very important to kind of give some credit to Jonathan Caldwell. He's the author of the original AGD, and he's still working on his version. I mean, I mainly add enhancements to AGD, and I have been working on it. I mean, I just got bitten by the Jetpac bug. I started working on it. I couldn't stop, but no, I mean, I have a few ideas about that. In terms of, I've just done some more. I made some changes, hopefully, that's going to allow it to use the other banks of the Spectrum. I kind of like the idea. I know that Jonathan has got a MPAGD, which is like you can use the PC to create the games, and that's kind of nice. But I quite like the idea of actually developing on the Spectrum itself as a challenge. So I've been playing about with it. I'm not going to promise when this will be, but I've been playing about with using, like the Scorpion 256. Yeah. It's like a Russian clone.
Yeah.
And
so over there you have the opportunity to see from yourself that Spectrum clones over there in Russia.
Well, no, not in. Well, I'm in Kazakhstan, which is in Central Asia. So
okay.
The Spectrum didn't really. It's not that far from Russia. I mean, obviously it's borders with Russia, and there's a city, Novosibirsk in Siberia, which is. There's a very strong kind of Spectrum scene over there. Some of the most popular Spectrum developers are based over there.
Yeah, I know.
But working with the Scorpion, we'll see what happens. I'm trying to figure out if it's possible, because if I can do that, then basically it has 256. K rather than 128K. I almost said 256 megabytes. No, 256K. And what that means is that I can potentially put the AGD into 128K, and the other 128K will be free for the user. So it means that you could build proper 128K games on the. Okay,
according to the question before about the difference between, because I think this is very interesting, in order when we will see the Jetpac RX, what is the method, or what is the work in progress you prepare in order to make a poke file to change an original game like a Jetpac RX?
Yes, sure. Well, that actually goes back to some of the work that we did with AGD, and I say that because I was working with David Safar, who I already mentioned, and we were making some changes to AGD where we were adding additional features, like sort of color management, or a little, kind of collectible items. And various things like this, and AGD, as you know, is designed for people without a lot of coding experience. And when we made these changes, we wanted to make sure that it was still compatible with the original AGD. So we had to kind of match the memory so that you could do pokes, and because originally we did it with binaries, so you could just load a binary into a certain area, but then it became a situation where you would load a binary, and then you would also have 2 or 3 pokes that would point the code to another place, right? So let's say you would add a routine to do one thing and put it into the memory, but then you'd have to poke AGD in one area to make it divert the code, right? So that's how it started, and then it became, we don't need 2 pokes, we need 6 pokes. Can we make a poke file then? Let's use the poke file instead of typing the pokes in manually. Let's use a poke file with for 6 or 10 or 12 pokes. And then I said, well, why don't we just put all of the binary into the poke file? Because then it's like loading a binary, right? It just does the pokes. And on an emulator, it's super quick. So that's basically the next step. And then after that, David wrote a small program on the PC, like just a command line, where you just type in the two spectrum snapshots, which is like the full sort of memory of the 48K. So basically 64K binary. And it does a comparison between the two, and it looks at any changes that you've made, and then it creates a poke file. So it means that if you start with snapshot A, and then you apply the poke file, then you have snapshot B. But of course, what you don't do there is it does work for simple things like within AGD, but for example with this one with Jetpac, you're sort of doing it live, right? So I could compare it to changing the wheel of a car while the car is driving. So you have to be very careful. If you're going to change the wheel of a car without driving while you're still driving, then it's very possible that you're going to crash, right? Which is exactly what can happen. So what we do here, that's why we have a 2-step method. So the first poke, simply divert. There's a routine running which is looking for the key for you to press start the game, right? So what the patch does is it just diverts that and makes it jump to code in the 48K memory, because this is the 16K game. So it goes to right at the top of memory, and it freezes it stops the interrupts, and it makes the stack safe, for people who know about Z80. So it makes everything safe, so then it makes it patchable. And at that point, when you apply the second patch, patch is also looking to see if you've applied a patch. When it does, it decompresses this image onto the screen. So normally it's compressed in memory, and then it decompresses it, and it decompresses all the changes, and then you basically you just press any key, and then you're into the game. But of course, from here you can also save it as a tap or a snapshot.
So
and the reason I did it this way, I didn't do it with Bruce Lee because it wasn't a problem. I didn't think anyone was going to, kind of try to serve me or sue me for using their code, but I know that this game is distribution denied, so therefore I had to make it in such a way that it wouldn't use the original code, and it would only implement the changes that I made. So within those 2 poke files, it's all my own code. It's nothing from Jetpac itself. So it just applies it on the top, basically. So that's how that works. I mean, if anyone has any questions about it more specifically, I'd be happy to answer them.
According to the own rights of the Jetpac and mostly all the Ultimate games, Codemaster were talking about this before starting. Alan, you are aware that still in 21st century these games still owners but proprietors, and maybe you were aware that if you if you take that not allowed to distribution free game, you put your code and you put your pokes and distribute to everyone, you will have in trouble, no?
No, it's not a problem, because the way that the law is very clear on this. You see, if you have a copy of Jetpac yourself, right? If you own it legally, you can do whatever you want with that game in your own personal use, right? So, for example, if you want to poke it, nobody from Ultimate is going to sue you if you poke, say, Infinite Lives poke to Jetpac, right? So poking it with Infinite Lives, you're changing the code, right? But if what you can say there is it's still a legal precedent, right? So if you poke it, you're changing the code, but it's still your version because you own that copy, so you can do that, right? In the same way as if you own a book, if you have a copy of a book, let's say you have a copy of a recent book like Game of Thrones or something, right? So if you want to draw illustrations in that book for yourself, then you can, right? That's it. But you can't publish it as a new version of Game of Thrones with your illustrations. You see what I mean? So and also you can make for your own personal use, for the copy that you own, you can change it, right? But what you can't do is distribute those changes. You can, of course, to take that analogy a little bit further, you could use those illustrations and sell them to somebody, or produce them and say, yeah, put these in the book and make your own version, right, if you want.
Yes, I understand.
Because you're not changing the original code. You see what I mean? Yeah. So and it's interesting because obviously what this does is it uses a poke file. So basically it's poking the game, right? It's a lot of, obviously there's a lot more pokes than just Infinite Lives. There's about I'm not sure how many pokes that it is, but it's probably something like 7,000 or 8,000 pokes, right? Yeah. but the reason for that is that there's a lot of code. There's about 6 or 7K additional code, which is added above the original 16K. Most of the actual Jetpac game itself is not changed. The only thing that it does is, let's say, for example, if there's the code, let's say there's code for generating the objects to be collected, right? So that code, the original code for that is still in Jetpac, but when that code is called, I use a poke, which basically diverts it to a new routine, which then generates new collectibles. You see, and the same thing when you pick up an object, when you've completed the rocket, for example, or anything like that, it's all diverted into new routines, which I've coded myself. And then the other part of it, of course, is that I made quite a few changes to the graphics. But again, what's important here is that when you do this as a mod, as a poke file, then you're not changing the game. You're not publishing anything. You're not distributing anything. All you're doing is making it possible for other people to make their own changes. Using the code that you've written. I think a very common example of this, which I'm sure plenty of your followers here would know, is that Pro Evolution Soccer, and I think also Football Manager, they don't have the rights to certain football teams, right? But what you can do, some people do, is like a mod. You can download a patch and then you apply it to the original game. So, and as long as you don't distribute the original game, then it's perfectly legal for people to change their own game that they own. Now, I mean, I think you and I know that there probably will be some people who don't have their own original copy of Jetpac and apply it to the copy that they have, but that's their choice. That's not my choice. I'm not encouraging people to go and get illegal copies of Jetpac. I mean, I have a copy myself which I own, and strictly speaking, to play the Jetpac RX, you should have your own copy. So
I see. I have no question on the chat. Feel free to give Allan any question. People in the chat.
Well, if you like, I mean, are you playing the game? Are you playing the game?
No.
Now?
I'm putting videos from your channel, but don't worry, Allan, because I will play my own game, and you will see Juanje. You will see Juanje on fire playing this game. You will see.
That's what people want to see. Yeah, sure.
Don't worry about that, because I will play.
I don't know if you tried the 128K version, but that one I'm still working on that with some more changes. One of the things I would say is that it's kind of a challenge, right? It's fun. Mm-hmm. When you think about changing a game like this, right? You think, well, this is like the what is it? It's like the Citizen Kane of Spectrum games, Yeah. It's like the game that changed everything. That everyone thinks, it's an absolute classic in terms of the history, in terms of historically, in terms of its impact at the time. It's huge, right? So, and it's very much loved, and of course, like anything that people love, they're very protective, right? So
yeah.
You sort of think to yourself, well, do I dare to to change this? Do I dare risk the kind of chagrin? The sort of.
Allan, I have a question for you.
My own reputation, I'm going to annoy a lot of people if I don't get it right, So, but that's part of the fun, right? That's the challenge where you think, well, you know what? Do you believe you can do it? Do you think you can get it right? And if you can get it right, then people are going to like it, right? People are going to appreciate it. So that's.
Allan, I want to know about the loaded screen. Is also from you, or you receive a collaboration from other people? Because it's very nice.
No, I have to give. Sure, yeah. Well, there's a few slight changes. This isn't the final loading screen. Actually, we made a couple of changes, but. I started doing this loading screen myself, but then I decided to pass it on to people that have more patience and more skill than I do. So I kind of I started off with the logo at the top, but I did the spaceman, and we kind of based it on the artwork from the original.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I mean. To actually do this loading screen, I mean, it's considered to be, one of the most iconic, most famous loading screens from the Spectrum, because in 1983 when this game came out,
mm-hmm.
there was nothing like that loading screen. Like when that loading screen came out in 1983, people just went, "Wow!"
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
So. For the time, it was absolute. It's an icon. It's an icon of Spectrum loading screens, right? But of course, and I was tempted to think, well, maybe I won't even do a loading screen. But we decided to try, and we thought if we can get it right, then people would appreciate it. Let's try and make it look like the artwork on the box. And so I worked with Craig Howard, who's done almost all of my loading screens. He did the one for Perils of Willy. He's did a loading screen for Roused for Terrapins as well.
Mm-hmm.
The only one he didn't do was for Bruce Lee, which I just did it myself. And that was just a scan. It was just a scan from a film. So people really liked it, but it wasn't a lot. I'm not going to take a lot of credit for that. But yeah, he basically did the main part of this. I mean. The reason I like working with Craig is that he's very flexible. He'll listen and make changes if I think that something isn't quite right. then we'll push and shove a little bit, but we trust each other. So, and I think in the end, we really managed to do it justice. Where we can say, yeah, this does actually stand up, and people can see it and say, what, that doesn't offend me. That screen doesn't offend me, and if I know if it doesn't offend anyone, that's the point where you know that you've done well.
We have another question, this time from my fellow Claudio Lopez, asking you about what is Claudio. your next program or your next game you have catching up. Do you have anything in mind, Allan?
Well, to be honest with you, I actually have about
maybe
30 or 40.
Maybe you can give me the exclusive.
Well, I don't know about that, but if you want to, I can show. If you look on my channel, you can see there's a Space Invaders preview.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Let me see if I can find it. And I really need to. There's a couple of games that I really need to finish, which they're almost done, and I'd like to get them done. But what happens is that I'm always kind of finding new things to do, and I end up like, I haven't finished this one, I shouldn't start this one, So I basically I'm like, well, I shouldn't start coding Jetpac until I finish this Invaders program. But then again, I'm supposed to be doing this other program and this other one and this other one, but and I should be working.
Allan, now I'm playing, okay?
Okay. Well, just a moment. Let me. Well, before you do that, before you do it, I'll send you the link. Okay?
Okay. Send me by the chat while I play. Don't worry. I can make too many things at the same time. I am multitask at the Amiga boss.
All right. Okay. Well, we can play a little game here as you play. Let's be careful because you can run out of air. So when you see a collectible, you have to identify which game that collectible comes from. So that was a protection collectible which you just picked up. That's from Attic Attack, right? Okay.
Information for the people is yes, now I'm playing, guys.
All right. So be careful, your air is very low.
You add the energy as a air factor.
Yes,
This is like a countdown timer.
It's like a timer, yeah, so that you can't camp, you can't stay. The other thing I did there, as you can see, the rocket, it has a more pleasing transition. It's a lot quicker, and it also accelerates, because when you play the game, you're waiting for that rocket, and it just goes up in the air like, it's so slow, It's like, okay, yes, what shall I do? Smoke a cigar and wait until the rocket lands and start playing again, So I speeded it up quite a bit. Here's a question for people in the comments. The enemy here, I've changed the enemy here, but can you recognize where the enemy is from? Because it's not the original enemy.
But the movement about all the enemies are the same than the original, no?
It's pretty much the same, yeah. I'm gonna in the sort of 1 to 8K version, I will probably change that, but yes. So do you recognize that cup there, 1K?
Yeah, this is from Attic Attack. I mean, the Alien 8.
No, that one's from Transam. That one's from Transam.
That's correct, from Transam. So you make a lot of cameos over here.
There's a cameo. There's like of every game. Like there's 12 of them.
12 of them.
Yes, John Davis is there. Hello, John. He says, yeah, the enemy is from Cookie. That's right. The enemy is from Cookie. That's that one. See if you can spot. Yeah, there is every Ultimate game up until like I think Pentagram. There's a mention. The ones that were developed by Ultimate.
There's another one. The Air.
They're all mentioned. Yeah, that's just an extra life collectible. That's not from a game. So
I don't need any extra life, as you see.
no, it seems like you don't. You notice that the platforms. You'll notice that the platforms say. Can you recognize that one?
Yeah. I lose one of my lives.
Yes. That gun that gives you an extra shot, but that's an original graphic. Can you see how you've got more lasers now?
Yeah.
Yeah, the cowboy hat. John Davis is making the comment. John Davis, you know all of these already, so that you're cheating. You're not getting any brownie points for that.
John Davis at the chat gives you a hand to.
He's helping. Well, he actually helped. Yeah, he's giving me some feedback on
the game, Alan.
Well, he helped. He helped me with a few. He helped me with in Perils of Willy. You know, he helped me with some of the enemies, and he's an AGD author as well. So we're in regular contact. So yeah, he's followed the progress on Facebook quite a bit. I don't think he's got any credit in Jetpac though, other than being quite helpful on Facebook with some.
You are going to make at least one loop, Alan?
He's still, yeah. Well, maybe. Yeah. So the diamond is from Night Law, yes. And,
second ship.
What you might notice is that the platforms are different on every level, in terms of graphics and placement. This is a tough level. This is going to be tough for you. If you can do this without dying, I'll be impressed. Let's see what you've got on here. Now let's see your multitasking, because you've stopped talking now. You know, I thought you said you could do both. You see.
For me, that type of enemies are the worst ones, Alan.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is the most difficult enemy in the game.
Oh shit! You know, again.
Once you get past this level, you can usually go past a lot more levels. But you're struggling here. You're struggling. You were showing off. And now, look at
oh shit, no! Porras! We say porras in my channel. Porras.
Yes,
damn!
I've heard
Game over, oh my god.
Ay, porras.
Porras.
Yeah. Someone said the bomb is an original item. It's from Lunar Jetman. It's from Lunar Jetman. So the only original item is the gun. So that one's from Lunar Jetman.
How much you spend in this mod about Alan? How long?
Oh, to be honest, I'm not sure, but maybe. Oh, it might be even 60 hours, maybe more. I'm not sure. There's quite a lot of time, you know. But I mean, a lot of the time, what you're doing. I mean, obviously, when you look at it, it might not look that much, but a big part of it is the time that you spend just understanding the code and testing ideas and seeing how you can make it work. Because, as I said, it's like changing the wheel of a car while you're driving. You've really got to understand how the original game works, so that you don't interfere with the code as it is. So that's a big part of the challenge, really. But when you add restrictions to games, to your methodology, when you're restricted, you can often it yields better results because it's more of a challenge anyway.
Alan, according to your experience seeing coding from Ultimate or other companies, do you feel that Ultimate assembly or way to program their games was very different from other companies in the golden era?
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about this game in particular, what you can see from the code is that they originally used to program arcade games, right? And so the thing with arcade games is that they're like Spectrum 16K. They're very restricted on memory. There's quite often a very fixed amount of memory that they use, and they say you've got to make a game within this amount of space and so on. So I think there's this game called Dingo, which was one of their arcade games before they programmed on the Spectrum. So they, and I would say that the thing about Jetpac, that I'm not going to say that it's necessarily fantastically well coded. I mean, it's very, very efficient, right? So if you want to complement it, I would say it's very efficient. Now, when I say efficient, I mean in terms of memory, right? Because it uses quite a bit of modified code and things like this to divert things. All of the sprites are drawn with using the same single sprite drawing routine, regardless of the size of the sprites, and it's designed very much to fit into 16K, right? So that's what I would say. I mean, in terms of Ultimate, I know obviously they have this fantastic reputation, and their games are very, very good. But I still think that their early work, the work that they did on the 16K, and some of their early 48K titles are still their best ones. You know, I think they kind of reached a peak very quickly within the limits of the hardware, and at that point they decided that they wanted to move on, and that's when they moved on to the NES, which led to obviously Rare and the work that they did on the N64 and things like this. By the way, there is a secret in this game if you were able to score 25,000 points, so we'll see if you can do that. You're doing pretty well. But
I'm doing well, but I find my nemesis type of enemies right now.
Here we go. Yeah. If you can get off this level, you'll be.
Shit.
Do you know? Shall I tell you? Are you using keyboard?
Yeah.
And are you using the hover key?
I use the OPQA, the best way to
manage.
So
if you of course. So if you use A, you can stop. You can hover in midair, right?
Yeah.
And if you hover in midair and turn around, you'll be able to shoot. That's right. If you turn around quickly, you'll shoot them all before they get you, and then you like that. See?
Yeah,
you can freeze and then shoot them. That's it, like that. Exactly. There you go. Just freeze and kill them.
I prefer to play the original way all the time.
Well, it's okay if you want to, but this game is much harder than the original.
Yeah.
So, but you can play it any way you want to, of course. I just.
But it is nice to keep position on the air.
Yeah, it's with these enemies, it makes it a lot easier, I would say. But if you think you can do it without, then more power to you.
Oh shit! One more. Yes, finally.
I think you're gonna make it. Don't forget the E. Oh, you've left the E behind.
I forget it. I forget to collect it. So
okay,
did you give me any link on the chat in order to show the fellows?
To show the what?
Did you give me on the chat any
I want to show you the Space Invaders game that I'm working on. Yeah, I did. I posted a link in the.
Okay, I check.
There. We want to see you get the high score now to 25,000. See if you can do it.
Let me see if you have put here on the chat something. No, there is nothing. Do you want to share any other video with the people?
Well, as I said, there was a guy that was asking me about.
You have to put me on the Discord chat window, because I have not allowed everyone to put the links on my chat window.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Any other one? Perdón, si otro tiene una pregunta en el chat que me la dé, ¿vale?
The Discord is on my Discord's on my phone, so I'll send it to you on email, okay?
Okay. Very nice. If any other one want to give Alan question, please feel free. Meanwhile, I try to give one loop to the Alan game as well. You see, Alan, too many motorbikes on my neighborhood, eh?
Oh, I could hear that. Yeah. Yeah, you're up to, what are you on now? 20,000? You're getting there. You're almost getting up to 20. 25 is the target.
Another one. Yes.
I think you're going to do it.
It's very beautiful. You change the platform tiles, Alan. It's very nice, eh?
It makes it feel like you go to another planet, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. Very good. Very beautiful.
Okay. By the way, you know the collectibles that you can see. There's the 4 original ones, and then there are these ones which are like cameos, like this one. That one's from Gunfight. And the later the game, the higher the score. So if you have like the Trans Am one or the one from Pest, then those are not very high score. They're only like 200 or 300. But if you get one for Gunfight or Pentagram, then those are like 1,000 or something. So.
Spectrum 32 is asking you about the possibility to implement in future scroll for AGDX games, Alan.
Oh, right, sure. Well, no, that's like a golden question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would say that it's. I mean, I have done something like that before, but it's just very difficult because it's not the scrolling. The scrolling isn't that difficult, but the management of the sprites is what's difficult, because when you scroll, the sprites have to move relative to the scrolling. You see. So, but I have done some work on that, and I've done the push scrolling, you know, where you go from one screen to the next, and then, okay, I think you're gonna get the high score now. You've got protection there. There's another Trans Am Cup. There we go. So look out, there's a special collectible. I don't know if anyone's going to get this reference. Some of you might know about this, some of you might not, but I decided it would be a really fun thing to put into the game. So let's see if you can do it. They're camping, look, they're waiting for you. Okay, there we go. So you've got 25,000, so hopefully the next collectible that comes, well, you're going to have to pick up that other collectible, otherwise you won't get the bonus collectible. Let's see what happens. Hopefully it will appear as the next collectible. Now, maybe. Perhaps it doesn't appear because you haven't collected. Let's see. No, I think it will, because it hasn't been generated, so. This rocket is a new design as well. It's similar to the. There it is. Did you see it? Did you get it?
Yeah.
That was just for a second. You would have seen that. That was a rareware coin, which is only appears in the Jetpac game from the Jetpac, which is in the Nintendo 64 game Donkey Kong 64. So you can play Jetpac on the Nintendo 64 if you have Donkey Kong 64, and in it you have to score 5,000 points, and if you do, then you get that coin. But that coin in this game only appears after 25,000 points, because 5,000 points is too easy to get. So yeah, you're doing very well, Juan Hey, but I know that
thank you.
I know that your Portuguese compatriot.
I prefer to not use the hover.
But your name. Yeah, sure. That's up to you. Sure. Who's the guy who does the? It's Andre, isn't it? Of course, Andre. Andre Lunar Liao. Yes. He is the king of Jetpac. In this game, he's scored more than 100,000. So you've got some way to go before you do that.
X now is pick it up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you need to get the other 4 letters.
I have the coin right now. Oh shit!
Well, you know what, Juanhe, you can impress me. Well, you can try to impress me by not using hover. But if you really want to impress me, let's see you do it without using shoot.
Oh.
You can complete the game without firing the weapon.
Without fire?
Yeah. But it's possible, but it's very, very difficult.
Oh my god, thank you very much to Retro Century, to resubscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Good bonanit to Elsa and Pep in English tonight. Retro Century, I'm very sorry. Let me try only one play without hover and without fire. Okay, Alan? Let me try.
Okay, let's see what you can do. Go for it. Be fun.
Here we go. So now without fire and without hover.
I think you'll do level 1. Go on, you can do it.
Oh, level 1, I suppose I will make it as well, eh? No problem, the level 1
for me. I think so. I hope so.
So this is Jetpac RX without fire and without hover, okay?
Yeah.
We will see.
Now I'm confused.
And also I will get the collectibles as well, eh?
Well, yeah, I'm confused because that letter T, it shouldn't appear unless you shoot aliens. So I don't know why it's appeared, but never mind. There's a slightly random element to it. You're doing pretty good though. I think you're going to be okay.
One game without fire and
usar
without
el hover y sin usar, I don't know, el fuego. I don't know. Why do you say that in Spanish?
Fuego. Is fire, is fuego as well. Or disparo.
Sin fuego, sin hover. Sin fuego, sin hover.
Okay, so stage 1 as well, eh?
You did it. Good job. Did you lose a life? I don't think so. Yeah, it's good. Now it's going to get a lot more tricky.
I
think the UFO level, it's impossible to do it without
Alan,
fire.
you don't have any social media network. You don't have Twitter, something like that. Where do you get the feedback about the players?
I mean, I have a YouTube channel, of course, as I mentioned, which is Happy Coding ZX. But the main thing I do is on Facebook, you know. So again, there's just a community that I started there. I have about, I don't know, maybe 500 or 600 people on there that are interested in coding, interested in developing, not just in AGD, but on the spectrum in general. And you're doing very well here. I'm impressed. No guns.
Yes!
Good job. Well done. Careful. All right. Now it's going to get much more difficult.
So I give the people a few minutes before.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the people who follow me, it's grown a little bit. This Jetpac game has obviously developed a lot of interest, and so people know me a bit more now. And so I'm thinking it's possible I might start doing something on Twitch. You know, I've had the idea that I might do some live coding. You know, like actually making a game. When I'm making a game, I'll actually just go live and people can watch the process. But to be honest, watching somebody code isn't as exciting as watching somebody play. Really. But with something like AGD, it might be possible because you've got that quick turnaround. So.
Thank you very much to Respergu, giving one free subscription for the community, and Ludenuken also give.
You're doing very well. Look at you. You've got some skill, Juan. Hey, you have got some skill.
Without hover and without fire, eh?
Exactly. Yeah.
And taking collectibles also, eh?
Exactly. Yeah. What do you say? How does that in Spanish? Something like bien jugado or something.
Oh yes, bien jugado. Sí, señor. Very good, Alan. Alan, a little bit of the Spanish. Maybe you come to Spain any time, or do you already visit Spain as well?
Well, I'll tell you. Many years ago, I was married to someone from Venezuela, and I learned a little bit of Spanish from her.
Uh-huh.
Just poquito.
Un poquito.
But un poquito.
Shit.
Hablo español poquito. But it's difficult because I can speak French and I can also speak Russian.
Mm-hmm.
So how can I say? Cuando yo hablo español, yo siempre pensar francés. I don't know. Is that right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's very good, Alan. Very good, of course.
But I keep thinking in another language. It gets confusing. So.
Jesus Christ! Another one, Alan.
What? Wow! This is it now.
My
You're not
God!
gonna get this next
My
one.
friends, no way here. With those, with those creepers, I have no chance here. Oh no,
Yeah,
but good play.
You did very, very well. Yeah, to get to this level now it's important.
Let me check the email, because you give me by email this video. I will share with my fellows right now. Okay, right here.
Yeah, I can see there's a question. People asking me about the Spanish homebrew.
Yeah, you can ask as well.
Isn't it? I think is it Sword of Liana? That's a Spanish game, isn't it? That's a good game.
That is correct.
Very good. Yeah. I'd say that's probably the best one I've seen. I'm just trying to think about which other ones there might be. So this is the Space Invaders game. As you can see, it's much more like the original arcade Space Invaders. Mm-hmm. So actually, I don't know what people think, but in my opinion, there is not really like a really good conversion of Space Invaders on 48K Spectrum. So that's the reason I was working on this. Is a technical challenge for me, really, try and create this. And I think it
also
plays,
you can give me, Alan, the your web your Facebook page or your Facebook account, because I put in on the chat your website, your channel, your YouTube channel. But if you want to share with us your Facebook page, feel free, please, because maybe you get.
It's just Happy Coding ZX on Facebook. It's a group, so if you search for it, you can find it on there. Yeah, I mean, this game here, this is just it's a little aside really, but the RX, like Jetpac RX, Bruce Lee RX, it started out from Terrapins when I did a Rally X mod of my own game. I modded my own game, so and I renamed it. That's how much I like modding. I even mod my own games. But I renamed it Terrapins RX, and it stands for remix, or it also stands for redux, like redone or remixed or whatever. But then I wouldn't watch this video. It's very boring. I'll skip to another one. But then I realized that I could do that as a way of kind of signing, so people would know that it was my game. And the most useful thing is that if you type Jetpac RX or Bruce Lee RX, then you always find it, right? You always find like that game, so it won't be mixed up with anything else. So that RX, that remix. In this case, I would say that it's remix, right? Jetpac remix is probably what it is. But
Alan, apart from maybe a pair or two projects you have already developing or maybe on work in progress. Are there any classic Spectrum game that you want to take it to improve sprites, colorfuls, looks, styles, like a Jetpac or Bruce Lee? Can you advance us something about what type of games, the Spectrum games, are you planning to make it poke?
Well, okay. Well, listen. I'm going to send you a link to another game which I'm just working on, which is Lunar Rescue. I haven't worked on it for a while, but I will be coming back to it. So I'll send you that now. It's just a little preview.
And I can play live now with my people.
Oh no! This is just
for me, for my private use.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just a video, just video link.
Just video. Okay. Send me.
Yeah. I'll send it to you now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Excuse me, Alan, but thank you very much for John Davids. He's leaving now. I'm off to bed. 4:06 a.m. here. Great interview. Night to all. So thank you very much, John Davids. You're welcome, and thank you very much to give a hand to Alan. Thank you very much.
Yeah, John Davies. I think he's in Thailand. And so that was a very very early morning there now. Even further east than me. I can, if you want to play the Space Invaders game, I can send it.
Yeah. I'm a good player, as you see. If you think I can make you a hand helping with the testing, no problem at all.
Sure. That sounds good. Well, you were asking about other games, and well, I've already done Jetpac, so. It's a possibility in the future that I might look at Attic Attack. Now, I don't want to change anything drastically in Attic Attack, right? Because it's a fantastic game and everything's perfect. But in the future, I might, maybe do. I might, if it's possible, I might do a modification, which makes it into. Like a roguelike game. So it means that when you play it, the whole mansion and the maze will be generated, and it will be totally different every time. So
here we have the video you sent me a few minutes ago, Lunar Rescue.
Yeah, that's another game I'm working on.
And what state now about development? Maybe 80, 70%, something like that.
Let me tell you that the last 5% of the games are always the one that takes the longest. So, but you can see from here that it's quite playable. This is a copy of an arcade game, and it's very very close, almost perfect to the original arcade. I think so. It's you can see. Because it's very similar.
This is a 48 Spectrum. What are we watching now?
Yeah.
Man, this is awesome. People on the chat are blowing up their minds. Congratulations, Oh my God.
It really looks like the arcade, right? Maybe you've seen the
absolutely.
Arcade, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very very close to the original. So. Yeah, it's just a little preview of it, but it's close. It's not far off. I just lost interest a little bit, so I should go back to it really. Yeah.
Alan, you give me.
Sure.
Are you planning the Jetpac to mod it or to poke it or to make a poke release to 128 kbytes?
Yes. Yeah. Do you want to try it? I can send it to you if you want to try it.
Yeah.
Okay, just a second. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
It's not.
I'll wait.
At the moment, let me just give me a second, because I'll have to compile it for you. Just give me a second. But in the meantime, yeah. So Lunar Rescue, it's not far off, and I will work on it. Hopefully, I'll get it released. It's very, very close to the arcade. It's actually, this is my last game that I've written in AGD, and it uses some quite extensive modifications, so it doesn't look like an AGD game, but it's actually written in AGD. But I actually find it quite frustrating coding in AGD now compared to.
And what suppose improve 128 KB the original Jetpac in 16K in 16K, Alan, because you made a very good job in 48. But if we are speaking about the 128, we are talking about the music, maybe.
Well, basically, what we're mainly talking about is the sound effects, right? So, and it's a lot. The game is going to be a lot faster as well. So it's what I wanted to do was I didn't want to change Jetpac too much, right? But one of the reasons I started with a mod, right? When these mods start, I always start with something simple, and I think, oh, wouldn't it be great if I did this? You know, that would be interesting. So I would be like, okay, let's. What about if we put? Because I don't know. So I don't know if you would agree with me, but Jetpac, to me, there are two arcade games which I think about with Jetpac. One of them, of course, is Joust, because it has those levels and flying, and the other one is Defender, you know, because you have this gun and you're flying and collecting, right? Yeah, they're both from Williams right now. I don't know, a lot of men of a certain age, certainly me, and I'm sure some of you guys, when you hear the sounds from Williams arcade machines, you know, that's like the best sounds. When you're in the arcade,
when you hear some Williams arcade working, you know it's Williams one.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to see if I could bring some feeling of Williams arcade games into Jetpac, right? So basically, the 128K version is hopefully it's going to play like a bit like a Williams arcade game, you know. That's the idea. So whether or not I get it to work perfectly, because the AY chip doesn't do square waves so perfectly. Like, you can't get it to sound so much like Williams arcade. But I guess, will people be able to hear the sound when you play the 128K version?
I wait for you
on the stream. They'll be able to hear it. Yeah. I'm just going to test it before I send it to you, so that I know that I don't want to send you one that doesn't work.
I was telling you before, don't worry, because I'm helping another friends to test their Spectrum games, even indie games or PC games as well. Not so much time, but I'm trying to help everyone.
Sure. Well, this game, I'm just testing it now. It's a lot more intense. In fact, speaking personally, it's the most intense shoot 'em up that I've played on the Spectrum. You know, it's really like it has a feel of Robotron or something like that, and it's difficult. You know, once you get to the alien level, it's very, very hard. So we'll see how you go. This is for hardcore. It's for hardcore Jetpac fans. And I'm probably once I start working on that, I'm also probably going to add, you know, the rocket, when the rocket comes down.
Yeah. In
Jetpac, I'm hopefully gonna set it up so that you actually have to land it. So you have to kind of use the thrust and land it properly to.
Yeah.
You know, don't use up the fuel and just land the rocket, so that it's not just a video. It's not just an animation. It's actually part of the game where you have to land the rocket. So we'll see.
I wait
and
for
maybe
your
some
mail.
more collectibles and things. Okay, so this, I'm sending it to you now. You have to load it into a 1 to 8K Spectrum. Okay.
Okay. I'll switch to 128K model. Because as you see now, do you ever hear about the Spanish emulator Retro Virtual Machine, Alan?
Yes, I've heard of it. Yes, I tend to use Fuse and Spectaculator just in terms of development, but I hear it's a very good emulator. Yes, it's very accurate. Is that right?
So now we have to patch also this version, or this version you already sent me is already patched?
Well, it's I'm not really supposed to send you the original Jetpac, am I? But since I know that you've already got Jetpac, then it's you can just play it. You just load it and play it.
Wait a moment, let me check. Now this is a 128 machine, what we have. Okay, I will give a very bit more volume in order to hear the improvement of sounds. Okay, Alan?
Sounds good.
Okay, so we will see. This is the 128 version. We make.
It's still a 48K game, by the way. It just has faster enemies and.
Oh, this is faster, eh?
Yeah. This is going to be tough for you. This is going to be a test.
Oh Jesus! What a special effects, Alan! Congratulations. You improve a lot the speed up, eh?
Oh yeah.
Too much better, eh?
It's a tough game.
Did you add any new collectible, or are the same than the patched 48?
This is the same at the moment. The only thing I did is the AY music tune, the effects.
This is awesome, Alan. Congratulations, eh? People on the chat, as Javier Pellicer, fast and exciting good work for Alan. So many people on the chat crack it out with the version. Alan, thank you very much.
Let's wait till you get to the harder level and see how you do.
Oh. Much better, of course. Alan, do you think at the time that which will this game if two players can be played at the same time? Can you imagine the Jetpac?
Well, that's funny you should say that. Just in the last 2 days, I've just been thinking about that, exactly that. Whether or not whether it's possible. Yeah, it might be possible, because you can see that.
I suppose if you reach
quite quickly, so
you reach 8,000 pokes to give that one. I can imagine two players how many pokes do you have to make. Oh my god.
Well, basically, you just have to recreate the single Jetpac guide and do the same checks that you do. It might be possible. I don't know how many people would want to play it though, but we'd have to limit the laser, like this. In this game you can have up to 6 lasers. In the original game you had 4, so I might be able to increase the lasers to 8, so that each player has 4, but then there wouldn't be any parallels.
This version is awesome about the speed, about the sounds, and a little bit more difficult, Alan?
Isn't it? Yeah, it's much more difficult, right? Difficult
Jesus
to
Christ,
play at the same time.
The sound is awesome, eh?
As I said, it's like a Williams arcade, that's the idea anyway.
But there are too many Defenders and Robotron clones on the commercial golden era of the GX Spectrum. Did you take a look to many of them?
Yes, I have, yeah, and there's a couple of them are pretty good, right? There's one that's written by the guys that did Design, didn't they? I think they did quite a good version. I can't remember the name of it, but it's quite a good game. Yeah. I might look at. I do have some other arcade games in the pipeline. You know, like aside from modding, I like to write arcade games. So I have a Pac-Man game. I modded the Spectrum Pac-Man. I don't know if you saw that, but it's not such a big mod really. But it's I might make a full version of that. And Frogger and a couple of other arcade games. Asteroids actually. I just started playing about with a version of Asteroids as well.
Okay, Alan. So it's time to finish our interview, but I hope.
Sure, no problem.
I hope you come back any further. You will be more than welcome. Absolutely. Thank you very much for choosing my channel, for choosing my people, for choosing my great community in order to give you at this awesome chat and this awesome conversation. Thank you very much, Alan.
Sure, I'd like to just say thank you to all you Spectrum fans in Spain as well. I don't often have a chance to chat with you guys because mostly I'm on Facebook and some of you guys might not be on there. So I hope some of you guys know a bit more about me now, and I hope you'll enjoy playing my games and have as much fun with them as I have making them. You know?
Okay, Alan. So even if it's off topic, I give my people will come here to my channel to close the program with wherever you want to say to the guys, what to play, about the stay safety, whatever you want to say to the people right here, right now.
Okay, sure. Well, the first thing I want to say actually, as you reminded me, because I know that I know this coronavirus really hit everybody in Spain really hard. So just want to acknowledge that and give love to everybody in Spain and best wishes to everybody who's been affected by that. And with all of us in the world, here in Kazakhstan, we also have a big problem with it. A lot of people doesn't come on the news, but everybody's going through this crisis, and hopefully it brings us all together. So that's important for me to say that first of all, and as I said, much love to the Spanish community. You've done a lot for keeping the Spectrum alive, and as I said, I hope you enjoy playing my games, and happy coding.
Happy coding. Of course, I suppose my community will join your Facebook web immediately. Also will subscribe to your channel, and I hope to give you a hand with your further productions. And if you want to come back with any other new game, or simply to just chat about the Golden Era, you will be more than welcome.
Sure,
and again, thank you very much, Alan.
I'm happy to come on. All right, what do we say? Hasta luego. Hasta mañana.
Hasta luego. So with your permission, let me say goodbye to everyone tonight here. As usually, too many people, too many friends. Thank you very much to Pepito Melómano, and thank you very much to Klyzard for translate this interview. Pepito and Klyzard make a great job. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, beautiful woman, beautiful men, for helping us or helping me to translate to other people on the chat. So muchísimas gracias, amigos, y ya sabéis que para mí es un placer traer aquí a gente que quiere hablar de lo que hace, conocerlos un poquito mejor, enseñar alguna que otra cosilla. Oye, y por supuesto, muchísimas gracias a Recuerda, a aquellos que han renovado, que han regalado, o que a lo largo del chat, ya sabéis que hoy no era el día más indicado para estar del chat tan pendiente como otro día. Creo que la ocasión merecía atender como se merece al bueno de Alan y esperar que venga otra vez con nosotros. Muchísimas gracias, mis compañeros y amigos de Ready and Play, Benabyte, Retro Abuelo, David Belgio, Arnau Yes, Elric, Carlos Peregrín y Flunky el agregado, Claudio López, Félix Rivas, Fugazi, Randall Meseki, Javier Pellicer, Pepito Melómano, Respergu, muchísimas gracias, Retro Centro y Bonanit para Pepi, Elsa, Retro Jofiel, Belgio, un FPS A37, Andablu, Satén, Codec, Ciberpla, Damián F0, Darlau, Dino, El Mesías, Sticot, Evangelion 37, Gerard Tos, Hillman Ilian, Hachu, Javi, Kabuto. Por supuesto, un abrazo enorme y tremendo para toda la comunidad de Latinoamérica que nos escucha, que nos ve: Bolivia, Venezuela, Chile, México, Argentina, Colombia. Lolus4747, Luz de Nuque, muchas gracias por esa resuscripción. Monty Bob, Mister, muchísimas gracias a Félix también por esa generosa donación. Paleto, Perdemoa, Playtower, Profesor Retroman, muchísimas gracias también que haya estado aquí con nosotros el bueno de Fran Gallego. Que le duela a los detractores, pues que se lo metan por donde amargan los pepinos, como diría aquel Respergu. Spectrum 32, Suita, Barnae, Vigo Pro, Cetáceo, Chocodrop, CTK Spectrum y toda la gente. Thank you very much again, Alan. Have a good night.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye to all. Thanks, people. Tomorrow with Retro Abuelo and the Game Boy. Game Boy is the best. So see you tomorrow, 2200 as usual. And when I used to say, play a lot, have a good time, play a lot, and greetings. Bye bye.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling, tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Mercy. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe, but I got you pegged. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face. What is a boy to do?